Welcome again to the San Diego Opera Podcast. I'm Nick Ravelis, and my guest today is Anthony Roth Costanzo, who's playing the stage manager in Great Scott.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here in San Diego where it's beautiful and sunny and warm.
Always,
yes,
right?
It's
always.
Amazing.
You've never been here before?
I never have, unless I might have come here as a kid. I was doing these Broadway national tours, and I think we stopped here once, we may have even performed at the Civic Theater, but we went to so many different places I can't quite remember.
Yeah, when you're a tour guide, it's a little hard to remember all the places that you've been, but
yeah.
I'm sure. But we're delighted to have you here. You're making your debut with San Diego Opera.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to the first question, your voice type, because although in opera worldwide, the countertenor is much more common today than he was 15, 20 years ago. Not so common in San Diego.
Right.
I think this is the third or fourth opera, perhaps fourth, where we've had a countertenor as a principal singer.
Wow.
So, which is cool, but can you just encapsulate what that is and maybe how you discovered that you were or could be a countertenor?
Absolutely. I mean, everywhere I go around the world, even in Europe where it's more prevalent, there's always at least a group of people who've never heard a countertenor in the audience, which is thrilling for me because I think there's a certain excitement. I mean, what it is a male singing in a falsetto register, very simply. And everyone has a falsetto, so in theory, anyone could do it. But when you hear it, it is a full-blooded operatic sound. And to hear that sound, which is what we're used to hearing coming from a woman, come from a man, is this very thrilling and, at the beginning, very novel experience. And I feel like the novelty of it is not to be exploited, but it can draw people into the art form in an exciting way. So basically, what happens is we train and physiologically figure out how to make that head voice register, which is the same thing as a falsetto,
and make it go.
Yes,
everywhere.
Expand the range and also make it the tone itself beautiful and rich and resonant and all of those things. So that's all we're doing. Me personally, when I was a boy, I sang boy soprano first on Broadway, then in operas, and I loved opera so much I did my first one when I was 13. And I think my voice may have started to change already, but it happened gradually, and someone said, you know, maybe you're a countertenor, and I said, I didn't know what that was. But I looked it up, and I figured it out, and I said, oh, this is fun. I get to keep singing high. So I just went straight through. A lot of countertenors stop. They become a bass or a tenor or a baritone, and then they go back to it, and they figure it out. But I went straight through, and I don't know anything other than treble clef. So.
Okay, then, tell us about the character that you're playing in Great Scott. Who is this guy, and what's he after?
So Roane Heckle, I mean, it's important to say, and Jack O'Brien, our director, was saying this yesterday, that this is really an opera about us, about those people who do opera. And it's a way of inviting people into our world, which is very exciting. So the stage manager in opera is a very important person, and that's who Roane Heckle is, my character. But they stage managers make the whole world turn. They call lights, they call curtain, they call actors to the stage. But they, more than that, serve often as a sort of psychological support, because the last person you see before you enter that big stage and before you walk out in front of 3,000 people is the stage manager, and they're saying to you, go. Or they're saying, you know, they're handing you a prop or a glass of water or things like that. And they've been there often throughout the whole rehearsal process. And so if you return to opera companies, you get to know these people.
Oh, sure.
And if you're having a bad day or you're particularly nervous, they often sense it and they know what to say or how to deal with you or whether to back away and all these things. So we see that in Roane. We see his relationship with Arden, the main character, as one of a very sympathetic nature, and she really appreciates on a deep level what he does for her. However, there's a very interesting scene in which she says, Roane, you know, I love you. And he says, he sort of calls her out and says, yeah, you say that, and so many people say that, but do you really know who I am? And then he says, you know, do you know what the color of my eyes are, for example?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a very interesting way to look into who the stage managers are as a people and as a person, you know, who this guy is and what their function is in the rehearsal room and in the lives of the characters.
Now, as you said before, that you've been working in this business, or at least in show business, since you were a kid.
Yeah.
You've known a lot of stage managers, and you've probably had great relationships with the good ones.
Yeah.
I know we've got a production stage manager that we adore here at San Diego Opera, Mary, hello. And, you know, she is exactly those things that you were talking about. Now, did that make it easy for you to create the character? That you had all this background and knew so many people that are that?
Well, there are different aspects to this character, and I think that was one thing that was very helpful in that I sort of knew they're very efficient because they have a lot to get done. They want to keep people on track. They're also sort of no BS kind of people.
Right.
And so all of that was filtered into also a character that I wanted to create from me. And Terrence McNally, before he wrote this, actually said, can we get together and meet? And we'd worked together a long, long, long time ago when I was a kid. But we got together and we met, and he sort of shaped the character around some aspects of my personality. So it's interesting to bring that into it. And the third element is that in this sort of microcosm of an opera that we have in Great Scott and of the opera world, we have the conductor, we have the stars, we have the stage manager, but what we don't have is the stage director.
That's right. That's right.
And so what Roane does, in a way, and of course it makes sense because the characters just get to be so many, it gets so unwieldy if they're, but what Roane does is functions often as a sort of stage director in terms of telling people where to be and how to be, even though his role is formally stage manager. So he has to sort of operate. He also occasionally will hang up Arden's clothes or do things a dresser would do. So he represents, in a way, all of these different
those
people who come together.
Characters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a fusion of all of those things. So I try and bring myself, the stage managers I've known, but also this whole other world of the backstage into this character.
One of the things, when I saw the piece in Dallas, that struck me about it, that fits in the tradition of the great musicals, the great operettas, and some comic operas, there's always a second couple, right? There's always this secondary pair that flirt with each other or in love. You know, there's the principal pair, the tenor and the soprano who fall in love. There always seems to be, especially in the Viennese operetta tradition, this secondary couple.
Yeah.
In this opera, the secondary couple is you and the conductor, a gay couple, which I think is absolutely fascinating. I love that's there, first of all, but that it works so well
and I think,
in that tradition.
Yeah, and I think the reason it works also in this contemporary storytelling is that there's never any commentary on the fact that we are gay, or
and it's just
and also there's no shock value in our romance. It seems like two people in the workplace who have this kind of chemistry and are attracted to each other, and we don't actually know where it goes or what happens. We just see their flirtation like you would in any workplace, and there's absolutely no commentary on the fact or even recognition of the fact that it's a gay thing. It just becomes a part of the piece.
It's just there. Which is great. I really enjoyed that, and I think the audience picked up on that as well, that it wasn't a thing.
Right.
It was just two people in the opera world who connect.
Exactly.
And it was lovely.
It is
really, really lovely.
It feels very much of our time in that it feels completely a part of that world and completely normal without having to sort of point to it and say, look, we're doing this thing which is, you know, which is breaking new ground or anything like that.
No, just very matter of fact, which is like, you know, one day we have a movie and James Bond is gay.
Yeah.
And no one, you know, okay, what does he do?
Right, exactly, exactly.
The other aspect of this that when I met you and the fellow who's going to be conducting, who's going to be the conductor, Philip Skinner, is so much taller than Kevin Burdett, who played the same role in Dallas.
Right.
So there's a kind of a
we're an
Mutt
odd
and
pair.
Jeff thing going on.
Which I think actually makes it funnier somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
And Philip is wonderful and a completely different performer from Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, that's what's interesting about taking pieces to new places with new people, is that you explore an entirely, the way we played a scene we may throw out and try something totally different. And in fact, yesterday we were looking at ways to make it feel more connected between us in a different way. So it's fun. I think that what people are going to be seeing here in San Diego is its own show with, you know, the great Jack O'Brien making it specifically for this group of people, and that's what theater is.
Yeah. I am so looking forward to it, and looking forward to seeing you in the role and hearing you live. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great time.
I will. Thanks for being here.